So I got a little project and I wanted to show you guys. So there is no air conditioning with the Fiero, but I'm going to give it air conditioning. The refrigerant is low. There was no Freon in it, so I went out, got a bunch of new Freon, manifold gauges, vacuum pump, a bunch of stuff, and I am going to recharge it. It had the old R12 stuff in it. I'm going to put new R134A stuff in it. I've never done this before, so we're going to see what happens, but I'll show you what I got so far. And I got a big bunch mess of tools right here. So the good thing is all the AC stuff is up here. So this is all the original parts on it, minus the blue hose. I got that. It's a charging hose that I bought. So as you can see, I took the spare tire out, and I have the accumulator here, which I will change because that's the original one. And down in there is the orifice tube that I need to get in there. I got a bunch of my wrenches out. I have an adjustable wrench to use to get the AC lines off. Yeah, I'll show you what I bought. So I bought the manifold gauge set right here. It's a charging wire for to hold the pressure. This is the high pressure line. I got my spotlight right here. I got my vacuum pump that I bought on Amazon with a vacuum pump oil it came with. I got a bunch of wrenches, socket set. That's the spare tire. Those are all the boxes that my shit came in. This is the new accumulator. So it came with some O-rings. So that's gonna go in place of there. I also went to AutoZone, spent a little more money than what I wanted to on stuff because remember I said I'm converting this to R134A. So I got some R134A, AC Pro, R134A, and I got ester oil. Now the reason I'm doing this is because the car has no AC. I don't even know if it holds a vacuum, so the first thing I'm going to do before I put any Freon is I'm going to pull a vacuum. Now the system's empty, there's no Freon in it, but I'm still going to put a vacuum on it and I'm going to hold it for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and we're going to see if it holds a vacuum. So this is going to be my project. I don't know how long it's going to take because I've never done this before, but it's going to be a learning experience. I mean, I think I have all the right parts. I hope it goes to plan. It probably won't, but I'm going to turn on my shop light. I'm going to get myself situated, and actually what we're going to do first, before we do a vacuum, is I'm going to replace the accumulator and the orifice tube. I didn't show you guys the orifice tube, but I got them from Rock Auto. Same with the accumulator, and it came in packs of 10. So I don't really need that many, but I have a few extra. So all you really need to do that is I got my adjustable wrench here. I use that to take off of these lines and then just turn that. This one I needed two for this. This just plugs in and there's your high service port right there. This is your high end service port. Your low end service port's down in there where the blue hose is coming out of. And I also used the adjustable wrench to hold this. And then I took a 3/4 inch wrench, and as I was holding it with the adjustable wrench, I turned it to open it up. So I am going to do that, and I'm going to be recording that as I do that so you can see. as you can see, I got the orifice tube out. And that one right there. Now the orifice tube, I don't know if you can see it, is right in there. It's a little white thing. So I got 10 of them over there. I'm gonna pull this one out and I'm gonna replace it. So these accumulators come with O-rings. I'm about to show you. So I'm going to take off the old O-ring. And replace it with the one that I got from the accumulator. On. Alright, so that's snug. Next, tighten the other way. I got the accumulator and the orifice tube tightened, so that's really good. Next what I'm going to do is I'm going to pressure test with the vacuum. So I got my gauges set up, my vacuum pump set up, and I'm going to hook it up to the high and low pressure side to the gauges and see if it holds a vacuum for a few minutes. Alright guys, we hit a little bit of a snag. When I went to hook up the manifold gauges, the high side manifold gauge has a different thread pitch than the high side service port on the AC system. I found 3/16 female to 1/4-inch male adapter, and it is this. It is Master Cool, and the model number is 9358. This is the 3/16 female side, and this is the side that screws on the high side service port right by the orifice tube. And then this side is the 1/4-inch male, and you can see the thread pitch is a little more coarse, and what's nice about it is there's a Schrader valve on the inside. So when you hook up your manifold gauge set, it threads in there perfect. So that's great. And then this end goes on the service port on the car. I waited 3 weeks for this thing. Alright, so we got everything hooked up. Low pressure fitting goes here because this is the low pressure service port. There's the high pressure hose running down here by the orifice tube. And then we have the yellow hose running to the vacuum pump here. We have
oil in the vacuum pump, as you can see.
So the next step up is I'm going to turn the vacuum pump on and open up the gauge set so we can get a vacuum. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes. It is pulling a vacuum. So I'm going to close both of them before I turn the vacuum pump on. That way it doesn't stop pulling a vacuum. So all you got to do is, I mean, these gauges tell you which way to turn them. So see how it sounds different? I mean, just cut it. I'm gonna let this sit overnight, and if it's holding pressure, and I can fill it with refrigerant. Alright guys, there are leaks. The system does not hold a vacuum, I'd say. It's a very small leak because it doesn't completely, the gauges don't completely go down to zero, but they slowly, I'd say over like 10-15 minutes they go down. My neighbor, he's a good friend of mine, used to be an AC technician. He thinks it's the evaporator. So we took a camera of his and took the blower motor resistor off, and right in there is the evaporator. And as you can see, there's a bunch of shit in there. There's leaves, all the stuff we pulled out. We put a camera in there too, and it was really clogged. So the next process is I gotta take this shit all apart now. I'm gonna take this cover off because the evaporator's in here kind of like this. And here's the top tube for it, and here's the bottom tube for it. So I'm going to take this cover off. I took the AC apart, and it turns out the evaporator needed replaced. We took I don't know what it was. It's like a little camera, and we stuck it in the evaporator hole and the AC lines, and we could look inside the evaporator. It was all rusted out, full of crap, full of leaves, dirt, debris. It was the original evaporator. So I had to order one from a parts car. Now this is off a 1987 Fiero, same car. I mean, they're all the same, so it doesn't matter what year you get, because the evaporators for 84 to 88 are all the same. And this one's in A quality, so they just literally took it off of a parts car and shipped it to me. Which, I mean, there's a little bit of dirt in it, but that's easily cleaned off, and it's clear. I can see through here. This one looks loads better than the one I pulled out of my car. So we're gonna get this put on. We're gonna get the accumulator back. We're gonna get the orifice tube put back. Then after we do that, we're gonna pull another vacuum on the system. Hopefully this time it should hold pressure. But yeah, other than that, we're just gonna put this in and hope for the best, and hopefully it doesn't leak anymore. I'll give you a close-up of the evaporator. That's what it looks like out of the car. You can clearly see through it. And there's a little bit of dirt and shit on it, but I mean, it is from a parts car. It's basically a mini radiator for your AC system. Okay, so I got my new evaporator next to my old evaporator. As you can see, there's the old one. It's covered with crap. There's the new one. I just took an air compressor to it and blew everything out. And what I'm going to do now is, as you can see, it's a mess in here. I had to take off the hoses to the heater core because that was what was keeping the evaporator in. I'm going to put this new one in, hook it up to the accumulator, and hook up the heater hoses, and then put the front panel back on, which shouldn't be that difficult. And then it should all be put together. I'm going to charge a vacuum on it and see if it holds pressure. And if that's the case, we're good to go. But before I put this in, I have some PAG 100 refrigerant oil. I got 8 ounces of it. I'm going to put about an ounce or so in the evaporator, and I'm going to lube this O-ring as well as replace all the other O-rings on here. I have some on the orifice tube set up that I need to replace, and I have a whole kit, where is it, right here, that I had. So these are all going to get used, lubricated as well. Here's the orifice tube kit. That right here, there's an O-ring, so that one needs replaced as well. And this fits right in here, and that's the high pressure side port, so it's right there. And then this end is what hooks onto the bottom end of the evaporator, and this end goes into the top of the accumulator. Most of this stuff is put back together now. I got the evaporator in here, I got the heater hoses back on here, I got this bolted down, although I lost my bolt for this, but that's a 10mm bolt, so that's not an issue. I can just go buy another one. I hooked up the accumulator. This is all tight. Orifice tube is in, as you can see. What else? And I have this cover bolted down. But what I'm going to do next, I'm going to put a vacuum on it and hook it up to the gauges. And I'm going to let it sit for about an hour doing that. And as I do that, I'm going to go to AutoZone, return the 134A with the stop leak, because you don't want the stop leak in your AC system, because it gums everything up, and you'll have a radiator or an evaporator like that one. So, new evaporator's in, all new parts are in right now. I'm hoping that solved my problem. We have cold air now. It turns out that the plug into the accumulator with all the wires in it was leaking, and I only found that out when I added the Freon, because I could hear it hissing after I turned the car and the AC off. So we found the leak. I have it running. I would take it on a drive to test it, but as you can see, I have expired tags, so I can't drive. So what I did do instead is I have the AC running, I have all the windows closed, the AC is on high, it's still cold, it's been here for about 10 minutes, and I have this bedroom fan here pointed to the radiator right in there, as you can hear it, and it is on high. So we're going to keep this running for a little bit, trying to simulate driving down the road as much as I can. I would take it, but I can't drive it. But it is nice and cold in there. As of right now, the AC is fixed. I only needed to add those 2 cans of Freon or refrigerant, whatever you want to call it. I'm so happy it works. I don't think it needs anything else. I'm gonna do this a couple days and see. I have the dye going through it. So worst case, you know, I have this UV leak detector dye. So I don't recommend this, because when it's the R12 to R134A. I don't recommend it because it's not a good seal. As you can see, I used the manifold gauges and I just added it that way. I got a can tap with a refrigerant can, so there's the can tap. I screwed in, and I got this adapter right here and I bought it off of Amazon. It was $5 because this stock hose for this manifold set that I bought will not fit onto the can tap because it's different threads. FJC 6015 R134A refrigerant, $5, and it's 1/2 inch Acme female to 1/4 inch male flip. I don't recommend the retrofit kits because they suck. Let's see. Just looks like water to me. We're gonna test it though because I'm gonna get a black light. I don't see any. I think I fixed my leak. See how green that turns? That's why you want a UV light when you want AC leaks, because the Freon will glow just like that. All right guys, well, I appreciate you watching this. Hopefully you learned something, because I learned something. I now know how to fix an AC system, which I'm really happy about. If anything else comes up, I'll make an update to this video. I think I found my leak. It was by the accumulator, like I said, so I'm really glad. As soon as I get my tags, then I'll drive the Fiero and keep you an update on that, because I'm thinking it should be fine. I'm not sure, but it should be okay. And if I fix anything else, I'll make another video. I'm gonna make a video on the Cadillac because that's gonna need fixed. Like I said, the AC is gonna get done. That's gonna get put to 134A. It also has an oil leak. I'm gonna change the valve cover gaskets on that sometime. I'd like to get the AC done first though, even though it's almost end of summer, but still, it's still hot. I still like to drive these cars. So, that said, if you like it, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.